are you? Good morning to each and every one of you. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I remembered something just as I was getting on the air, and I thought, oh my God, I need to fix this. I mean, I need to do this now. But good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Lawful, where authenticity lives and thrives to create a space of growth, healing, and joy. I am your host, Andrea Lawful Sanders, and each day we will cover the topics that are informative and engaging while learning from each other. Just realized my thing was twisted up here. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So much to cover, so much to share, so much to do. I remembered, good morning, Alexandra. Good morning, John Amalis. Good morning to all of you. Let me shut this down. My dear friend just sent me a thing saying that Busha Banton is going to be, if you don't know who Busha Banton is, I can't help you, is going to be in Atlantic City in September. Good morning, Bobby. Good morning. Mr. is doing okay. Thank you for checking in on him. He's doing well. If you see him today, some of you may see him today, just, make sure he's all right. Good morning, Roz. Good morning, darling. Good. Roz is on IG and on YouTube. I love you all. Top of the morning, Marguerite. Good morning to all of you. I'm so grateful to have you here. You know it is Love is Thursday, so I will have Cherie Syfax on. And Marguerite, if you look in the chat, you will see the link to donate to Antoine Johnson's event this evening. He's in desperate need of a kidney. His bills have piled up. He was diagnosed, I believe, this time last year because I was traveling across the country. Good morning, Shakwala. When I got the call from him that his kidneys were at 5% function and he needed a kidney terribly. And so just, go ahead and if you can donate. No amount is too small, truly. Good morning, Laura. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Shakwala. And so I remembered at the last moment that Marguerite asked me to put the link in, so it's there in the chat on YouTube to donate to his event, not to, just to to support him. So we're there. Let me reach out to Cherie, and I mean she's always good for being on here, but just always let her know that I am ready for her. How are you guys doing this morning? The call-in number is 215-400-0146. I have good manners, so I always don't make assumptions to make sure we do what we're doing. Good morning, Beatrice. Good morning. What have you all thought about season 3, episode 6 with Diane Mapp? Can you give me an idea? Because I'm seeing it being shared. I see people talking to her. She talked about, her life living, growing up with a mother who didn't want her, a father who wasn't exactly the kindest, but he took her in and supported her. She was living on her own by the time she was a teenager. Like all these things were going on. And it seems to have impacted so many of you. Good morning, too. And then, whew, Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. I had on here Nay Andrews, whose father is a preacher. Thank you, Monica. I appreciate it. Good morning, Melissa, whose father is a preacher in New Jersey right now still, who was sexually abusing her. And she came on here and transparently shared her story. And that got quite a bit of responses. And many people were traumatized. And then last night, I go to bed early because I wake up so early every morning. So I woke up just before I went to bed at around 5:30 yesterday evening. I see something from Nikita, Canada, posted about a musician that I know very well, who is being accused of molesting someone in his family. And her mother and other people in the family were like, thank you for speaking up. But meanwhile, the leadership keeps saying, the leadership in the churches, are telling them to be quiet. Other family members are telling them to be quiet. And this young lady who was born in 2007, so she's not 2017, she's not even 20 yet. And she spoke very transparently about being abused by this gentleman. I know him well because he would play the organ at different churches, around Willow Grove in Abington. And and he also does carpentry work, when he's not playing music. And so I was just so like, We allow children to be traumatized. And I'm not saying that this is false or true, but based on what I am seeing, there's something there. Where there's smoke, there's a little bit of something there, right? And it happens far too often to our children. And I just really, really need us that when children come to us and say, this is what is happening, that you don't tell them it's in their mind, that you don't tell them, especially when they're small. I have repeated the story about she was, how old was she at the time? Maybe 6. When she came to me, lived across the street from me. In fact, when her mother was pregnant, I took her in. When her mother was pregnant with her, I took her in so she could come and live with us. And the mother then has a boyfriend, and she came and told me that the boyfriend was touching her inappropriately in the bathtub. I immediately called Child Protective Services, called mama, then called Child Protective Services. She rushes home, and she would, she tell the baby, I'm so sorry, blah, 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 blah. And then when the Child Protective Services called to get him to come in, he never went in. Mama then tells the baby, don't say anything. Tell them you made a mistake, blah, 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 because he's the only father you know. And that still sits in my craw to this day. My sons continue to follow her because they know how much she meant to me, continues to mean to me. She's now pregnant with a boyfriend. And I could see in her face, she went to school and dropped out. And I just feel like, how is there another way for us to protect children when they come? I did all the right things. I called, I checked in with mom. You know what mom did? The father, and I think he convinced her. She moved within the next few months. She moved from there and moved somewhere else. I didn't tell anybody where she was living. She just gave like the general vicinity where she was, in the morning, that, where she has lived. And she since had 2 babies for this man. He is married, was married, right? Kept promising her that he would marry her while he was still married. I'm not sure if he left the woman that he was married to, and that she finally married him. But I know that first baby at the very least didn't get what she needed. And so what are our options? If we call and we report and the parents say, don't tell, because, it happens a lot. Don't tell. We don't want anybody in our business. We don't want anybody to know that this is what's going on. Daddy didn't mean it, or uncle so-and-so didn't mean it, or, cousin so-and-so didn't mean it. And so we have children going into school that are acting out. The first time I heard about it was through Oprah Winfrey, when she was being raped by a family member. And she would go to school and they would call her a fast tail, and they would say all these horrible things about her. And she just kept saying, you all don't know. So as an adult was when she spoke about it. But can we protect our children? When I was talking to Nay Andrews, so many of you were triggered. So many of you said, I can't even talk about it, Marvel, but this is a thing. How do we protect our children? Are we mindful? And it doesn't matter if they're family members. One of the things I love about son number 1, who just had his Jesus birthday, he does not leave his children with anybody. And he has cameras all over his house. So even for me, I am there all the time. Those babies adore me as their grandmother. I'm not allowed to just take them and go walk all over the place. He tracks to make sure. And it may seem like too much and much ado about nothing, but he's making sure that his children are okay. He's like a lion for his babies. And I actually am encouraged to see that he does this. I say to him, such and such and such and such, let's go. He was like, my babies are not being left with just anybody. You are the only one I trust. And that's after you're being here when they were first born. That's after we watch you as you watch them. They may go to dinner and leave me with the babies, but they've got cameras on. They can see. They go downstairs and I'm upstairs with the babies, and they're watching to make sure their babies are okay. That's parenting. That's not saying, it's my mother, because grandmothers have sexually trafficked children. Women do it too. Right? And so we must be mindful. Children cannot protect themselves. We have to protect them the best way that we know how to. And so when a child comes out and says, so-and-so has been molesting me, and gives all this evidence about different times and spaces and dates, and other children are saying, yes, we were in the room while he was touching her inappropriately. Yes, we were in the room. Like all these things. Why are we not protecting our children? Why are grown adults saying things like, don't worry about it, we don't want this in our family, blah, 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 blah. Did it ever occur to you that the sexual predator needs help too? Did it ever occur to you that maybe that person is molesting children around them because they too were molested? We just keep this perpetual cycle going. And so it's important. I remember when my children were younger and I would take them to go to a friend's house and the parents didn't come out. I was like, yeah, I'm coming back to get you. And such a couple of times. I would not let them sleep overnight anywhere, just anywhere, right? Very, very protective. And everybody kept telling me, oh, they're boys, they're going to be okay. Bunk that. You must protect your children at all costs. I know you want to go and get a break, and I know you want to do this and you want to do that. But cameras right now are $19, $20. Put them all over your house in places where people can't see them. Right? Just protect your children and pay attention, because it's the people that you think you can trust. It is usually the family members or the people that are close to your family that are the ones that are molesting and harming your children. So how do we go about that? And I don't want to hear if this is not true. And there are times when people have been accused of sexual molestation that is not true, through divorces, through relationship breaking up, all of that other stuff. I get that, right? So I want to make sure that you understand that I'm just not unilaterally accusing people. And I also want to make sure that you understand that it's not just men that are molesting children. Women do it too, right? Women do it too. So can we have that discussion in a fair and just way so that we can take care of our children? If the child says, I don't want to go, if they're 3 or 4 and keep saying, I don't want to go, don't force them to go. Change your plans. Stay your behind home and figure it out. If whatever it is, because children have senses like dogs. We're the ones that beat their and when I say beat, I don't mean physically beat, but continue to condition them into believing that what they feel and believe isn't so. Because this is insane. We have to protect our children no matter what is going on. And so even if it means that the child just did not feel safe in sitting in that space and there's something that felt off to them, listen to your children. I'm talking about children. Hi, Cherie. I'm talking about children who are now accusing adults of sexual molestation, and the family members are saying, oh, well, it's Uncle so-and-so or it's Pastor so-and-so, this most recent incident that's happening now in real time, Pastor so-and-so, don't embarrass the church, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what do we do? So Monica says, good morning, Jesenia. He didn't mean it. He was drunk. He thought it was so-and-so. No, say it. Keep saying it. Listen to the babies and take action. Marguerite says, I just began to talk about my molestation in my 50s, first at the hand of a babysitter's brother and next by a relative. This is why I was guarded about who watched my child. Absolutely. Laura said, I would report it and let the chips fall. I cannot have something like that on my conscience. I would ask the child if I could record the confession so an authentic record could exist. I couldn't, it could not be. And it's happening more and more and more. And so when I watch my son say, no, even me as his mother. Sharia, where are you, darling? I don't see you. Hi, sweetie. Okay. Good morning, sweetie pie. So we just got into this conversation this morning because this stuff is happening in real time. And then, do you remember, Cherie, the woman that we interviewed? I was talking about Nay Andrews. You and I have interviewed some people. Mickey, who came on and said that her husband was abusing alcohol and drugs, but she decided to stay with him. He passed away. Yeah. She and I talked at 6 o'clock this morning. So I asked her if I could bring her back on, because she said he needed a liver transplant because he wouldn't stop drinking. He had the liver transplant and then kept drinking. Yeah, girl. Yeah. And so I want to have her back on so we can have a conversation with her about richer for poorer, sickness and in health, till death do you part. Because she said she was not leaving him. You remember her having that conversation?
I do. Yeah. I do. I wonder if she feels any relief.
So I didn't ask that in that moment because he just passed away. His funeral is on Sunday. So I if you're amenable to it, we can talk to her together in another conversation about what this journey has been like. Because, she just
heavy.
Huh?
That's heavy.
It is
heavy.
Yeah. And I remember you and I asking, what would make you, because this is the Love Is segment. So we talk about these things and we talk about them transparently. And people have gone through all kinds of things with their spouses and have never said anything for whatever the reason. So,
Wow.
welcome, child.
Good morning.
Cherie.
Good morning. What's going on?
I, I was on the air yesterday. I would love to talk to Mr. Syfax one morning. And it was because it was my husband who sent it first to me that 318,000 Black women have been laid off between February and April. And more. Yeah, right. And, so I did a whole dialogue about it yesterday and I read it because I know Mr. Man Frisbee was the one that said it to me. And then you guys started sending it, including my husband. And I read that thing and I was like, yo,
6%
then someone says,
versus 3% in every other demographic.
say that again, Cherie.
African American women's unemployment rate right now is 6%. It's grown the most of any other demographic, and it's double of the average of any other demographic. So we're at 6%. Everyone else is at like 3%.
Yeah. I've spoken to so many women, whole family of women that have lost their jobs, all Black women. And I began having a conversation about what does that mean for the travel industry, for you guys, for the restaurant business, for hair and nails. And it's literally devastating us, devastating our economy, because they understood that we make up the $1.7 trillion of spending, right? And there were so many people who were angry by the fact that we were able to get these college degrees. We were able to improve our life despite what was handed to us. They had made a plan, and it was written in Project 2025 around Black wealth, how they were going to access our bank accounts, how they were going to be able to come and pull us out of our homes. And nobody, I kept saying it, I kept bang, 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 asking, is anybody paying attention to this? And everybody kept saying it's much ado about nothing. And so here we are.
Not me.
No, yeah, not you, because we were talking about this, right? And so now we're here, Cherie. Now we're here. Mm-hmm. It's a systemic gutting of our community in ways that shows up like, oh, well, we are letting go of so many people. We are downgrading our workforce, da, 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 da. What I also noticed is when these particular Black women find jobs after they've been laid off, it's 1/3 what they were making. 1/3. Mm-hmm. So let's have a conversation about what that does to the psyche, how that impacts our relationships, right? Our relationships with our spouses, our significant others, our relationships with our friends, because people are now pulling back and not showing up to events instead of saying, I don't have a job, or, I have to downsize my life. How is that showing up? What are you seeing on your end?
So good morning, everyone. It's so interesting because we're going to Martha's Vineyard next week, and there are about 30 of us. And that I know of, 2 or 3 of my girlfriends have been laid off from very high-paying jobs. And so we have had those conversations because we're like, okay, so we're going to go do this, and it's this much per person. And I've had one of my girlfriends say, hey, I haven't worked. And so, I'm being mindful of my spending. It's not that I don't have, but I'm being mindful of my spending. So that conversation is starting to get into my universe, because that usually just hasn't been part of our conversation. Now, one of my girlfriends, which I'm hoping this is what's happening, she's pivoted, and she wrote DEI curriculums for her company, and they partner like with Columbia and things like that. So she has had people reach out to her. Has had people reach out to her. This thing comes up and I can't see. Reach out to her to do some of that work, because that work is being done maybe under a different name or in a slightly different way, but cultural competencies and things like that are still being needed by companies. And so she has now started her own business. So I'm hoping that more people feel empowered
Yes.
and understand the skill that they have, and
Yes.
use that in a different, in a
Mhm.
different capacity to
Mhm.
serve themselves. Because if you
Mhm.
work for yourself, maybe you don't have to make the same amount of money because you can make it work a little bit differently.
Mhm.
I'm also seeing conversations where some people are implying that this is an opportunity for Black men and Black women to support each other and look at relationship for those that aren't. Because when you look at two two
Income.
earner or two
Mhm.
potential earner income
Mhm.
families or households, those are more financially stable maybe
Mhm.
than one individual.
Mhm.
So I'm definitely, that's an interesting concept. Um,
Yes.
and so that will be great. But yeah, I am starting to that's impacting my group. And even I have one of my friends who's retired, but she's even navigating and spending her money differently, or being
Mhm.
mindful of how she spends it because
Mhm.
of the state of the economy. So yes, we absolutely, I mean, I have to look at all those market points, because in our business we have to evaluate and assess, if we had a good week, if we had a down week, what's happening, in our neighborhood, what's happening
Right.
in our city, what's happening in our state, what's happening nationally. So that data point has been on my radar for probably the last
Yeah.
month or
Yes.
two, because
Yes.
obviously we have a diverse crowd, but our systems are the ones
I
that
think
tend to
autopsies are
Go ahead. I'm
are
sorry.
that's okay. Our Black women are very present, and they come
Mhm.
through, and are very supportive of our
Mhm.
restaurant. And
Mhm.
so we have definitely, I've been tracking that stat, for, like I said, about a month now.
Mhm. Mhm. I agree. What I love about us is the resilience and being able to pivot. To your point, Laura is calling in. Welcome to Mornings with Mova. How may I help you? Turn down your thing,
hello?
Laura. I can hear you, but you got to turn down the thing that you're watching, because we can hear the feedback.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know. Can you turn it down? You said, right?
All right. You got to turn that down, Laura. You got to turn it down. We can hear the feedback from the show.
Okay, here I go. Turning it down.
Okay.
How's
All
that?
right. That's much better. Good morning, darling. What would you like to add to this conversation?
I just, yesterday when you mentioned it, I wanted to add, and then she just said it
Mhm.
about how we are so split, and this, the red pill of the men against the Black women, men against the Black women.
Mhm.
It's a big thing, and I think that what we have now is something to force us together to come together.
Yeah.
At some rate, and I don't necessarily think it's a bad. I think it's a bad thing that's happening, but I think it's maybe a good thing to really kind of maybe get our families back together.
Yeah.
And
But
that was the point that I brought up yesterday.
but in what way? Because I don't want us to just get together so we can have two incomes and we don't like each other. That's not going to work either, right?
No,
Right.
that's not what I'm saying. We need to really look at how a relationship can be built. And how about this? How about checking out? What I notice is that there's a lot of foreign born people that have their families intact, and they seem to be getting along really good and moving forward. It's just something that I've noticed over the years. So I think it's something that we really need to look at. And this is a way to do it. Maybe not the the best way, but this red pill stuff is really, really, I think, having an effect on us in our relationship.
So when you say
We're
this,
at a standstill, almost like.
right. So what you're saying, this red pill, is that this, but let me paraphrase because I just want to make sure that I'm hearing you correctly. What you're suggesting is that in our communities, we're like, I got mine, you get yours. I'm not really trying to take care of nobody else. Is that what you're saying to me?
As far as the relationships go,
yes,
we as a lot of us as Black women, we have established our own individuality, and without the man.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now we have to look at,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I may need
Mm-hmm.
a man. And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
But didn't we always need our mates? It's just that we had these pie in the sky. And I mean, Cherie, stop me when I'm flying off the wall, okay? That we had these conditions in order for us to have these mates. And we also saw that our black men were on so many levels, because we were having that conversation too. And I was told that's not true until we saw that it was true. Black men who were just disgusted by what they were seeing from us as black women, true, real, imagined, whatever that means to us, right? That we were just, it was too much. We were just too much. They would rather date someone else from another race. Cherie and I've had this conversation
Yeah.
1,000 times. So I really just think that a lot of this is the conditioning of the things that we would see, the people playing stuff about black women, doing this, black women themselves. You know, I got 4 degrees.
Value.
I bought my house.
I think we're gonna be maybe forced to look at the value of a man in our lives.
Yeah.
Not that we can't do it ourselves.
Right.
Not that.
Right.
But the value of a man.
Yeah.
And then come back to understanding that value is good. And of course, you got to be a valuable man.
Yeah. Yeah.
But let's at least look at it and consider the man as valuable, even though we can do our own. But right now, I think the family unit is going to be the strongest thing to come through this.
If we are willing to humble ourselves and pay attention.
We gotta humble ourselves.
Shakila says, I think.
And you know what? You know how I humble myself, Andrea?
Uh-huh.
And Morning Family, I stopped watching that red pill stuff because I noticed that it was, after a while, I was like, I'm feeling this way, you know, against the man. I'm feeling this way. I'm like, but well, you know what?
That's real talk.
We both have points. And if we both don't consider our points, we'll never get anywhere. So I had to stop. I had to renew my mind and stop feeding my mind that stuff.
Yeah.
And guess what?
When you
I'm
work
in
on
a committed relationship, I can flow now.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I appreciate it. I appreciate
we agree.
that I was able to do that.
Thank you.
But I think the family is going to be what gets us through this.
All right, hold on one second. Shakila says, I think we need to be careful about looking at others like the foreign families and assuming they have it together because of how it looks. Our cultures and therefore stories are different. Yeah.
That's correct. However, overall, nobody is perfect.
Right.
But when you look at the family moves can move further. It just is what it is. They prioritize family first. The man takes care of the family first. Now, I'm not saying he ain't doing what he's doing, but everybody does, could be doing what they're doing. But they put the family first. They will not leave their wives and children.
But
I'm not saying this is perfect in every situation,
right?
But a lot of times that foreign, what I noticed over the years is the people with the foreign background, they put their families first, and they seem to get further.
All right, thank you, my darling.
You're welcome.
All right, talk to you soon. Bye bye. Let me let Cherie get in here. Bye bye.
Cherie. So a couple things. One, I love the fact that she said I had to stop turning off that red pill stuff. It's all what you consume. When we talked about your evolution, your healing, different journeys to be on, you got to watch what you're consuming, because you just have to be mindful of what's coming into your body, what's coming into your consciousness. That's why like mindset and meditation and all those things is so important. The words that you hear, the words that you say, the things that you listen to, what you consume, all those things kind of impact how you walk in this journey, in this life. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I agree, there are different cultures, but what I will say about what I've observed, whether it's physically here in this country and engage with other cultures due to, kind of what we do, and or traveling and seeing other countries, is that there is a different communal economics, if you will. And so there is no thought around, or there's very little thought around when I think about, like, okay, I have friends in Minneapolis, Liberians, and I'm like, how did you guys end up in Minneapolis? Well, it's like one auntie came and maybe went to university, and then everyone came, and so everyone stayed with the auntie until they were in a position they could put their collective economics together, and so they were in a position to then move to the next thing or buy the next thing or what have you. And so, yes, from that perspective, yeah, everybody may not get along perfectly, but their mindset around collective and communal economics is very different than ours is. And so that's a way that during this time we can be thinking. I have girlfriends in beautiful homes, 3 and 4 bedrooms by themselves. Now, what could happen maybe if someone, we start looking at that more communal economic model? How can that help this one over here who may have gotten laid off, and that one over there who's trying to get their business off the ground? And what can that look like? So I think that there are opportunities to talk about what our ancestral culture, like our culture that's closer to who we are supposed to be. When you talk about, seeing, people from the continent, or, brown people that have migrated here, they look very different at kind of how the communal economics are, and how the money that they make goes into the household, and it kind of supports and helps the next person either getting here or getting their business or their home. We went and got a refrigerator the other day. When I say spoke no English, and that can be frustrating at times, but it was just like, wow, they've come in, they've got their supplies, they've got this business all set up. And that's because someone got here first. They pooled their resources. They continue to pool their resources, continue to bring more people in, and now they're set up in a whole business. And until we kind of, as us being here, because we're a little disconnected from that cultural reference, partially because of how slavery pulled us apart. I do believe that has something to do, that's in our DNA in this country. But that collective economics is a way to at least in some ways shield ourselves from some of the things that are happening.
Yeah. So we did have it. Cherry Gregg just popped in and said what I was about to say. The families from other people from other countries did what we've done and continue to do what we've done because we didn't have a choice. We did not. In order for us to make it in the different parts of the world and to come here to America, we understood that we had to do cooperative, and it wasn't perfect. God knows there's been some crazy stories. I could tell you some crazy stories, but we did it because we didn't have a choice. And then Cherry jumped in and she says, but Black people in America did do collective economics. During the Great Migration, we worked together. Yes. My family told stories of people setting up in their north and bringing folks up from the south. My dad's family moved to D.C. from South Carolina. They became the place for other members of the family to move up and set themselves up. We got to get back to that. How did we lose that, though? Because that's the power that we had in the 60s. And I want to play something for all of you. I want you to hear this, because to Cherry's point, to all
the Reconstruction period that we were talking about before,
right.
When you look at that is how people work together. People patroned each other.
Yes.
All those things were happening.
Yeah.
And yes, we have gotten back away from that.
Yeah, we still are resilient and have known what to do. What we've not done in recent years is done it together. I want y'all to hear this. Listen to this for me.
Sweating bullets, but I have to say this while I'm thinking about it. Almost every week, I see someone ask the question, why are white men so angry? And while I cannot begin to expound on the many reasons why that might be, what I can say is this: I view all social problems through a lens of societal systems, because as a sociologist, that's what I'm trained to do. And here is the design flaw in systems of privilege. When you build systems of hierarchy and privilege, when you build systems of hierarchy and privilege, the privilege is actually what weakens you. The privilege makes you weak, because when you socialize an entire group of people to believe that I exist, therefore I deserve. I exist, therefore I am entitled. I exist, therefore the path of prosperity should be laid out very cleanly ahead of me, and I don't have to work hard, and I don't have to struggle, and I don't have to dig deep. I just have to receive. Meanwhile, you are socializing all other groups to survive with less resources, with less privilege. And so as a byproduct of their survival, they are becoming adaptable, resilient, creative, resourceful. They are developing the muscle for survival that they subsequently turn into systems for success and prosperity. Meanwhile, the privileged group is not developing these systems. And when they start to see the disenfranchised group becoming stronger, gaining opportunities, building systems of success, rather than say, hey, maybe we ought to be doing that too, no. Privilege doubles down. Privilege digs deep into the well of anger and grievance and says, you are the reason why I can't be successful. You are taking opportunities away from me and my children and generations. And so now, rather than develop the muscle of resilience, what I'm going to do now is start taking privileges away from you. And now I'm going to start taking your resources. And now I'm going to start burning your house down in hopes that you will get back to where I think you ought to be, which is underneath me. Not realizing that the more you do that, the more privileges you take away, the more systems of success you try to dismantle, you are only making them more creative, more adaptable, more resilient, and more resourceful. So it becomes this Ouroboros, this snake eating its own tail, because the very system that you designed to uplift yourself is actually the one that is putting you far behind, because you never develop the muscle, the work ethic, the resilience, the innovation, and the creativity as the disenfranchised group.
That was Dr. Shante, a sociologist on Instagram. And when I saw that, it made perfect sense. What we now, yeah, it does. It does. What we as a community need to do now is not just to hold on to the resilience and navigate through what is coming our way and what is upon us, but how do we do it? I've been saying this for months. Find your tribe, y'all. We cannot do this by ourselves. Who are the people in your tribe? Who can you call in and say, you know what? I don't have X, Y, and Z. Can you make me a meal? I can't afford my car payment. Can you help me with my car payment this month? We don't turn up our nostrils and say, oh my God, I can't believe. We do cooperative economics and we help to support people. How can I give you something where you can make a little bit of money so you can continue to sustain yourself? We have it within ourselves, y'all. It is here. It is absolutely here. So all that cooperative economics we did when we did the Great Migration, I would suggest everybody read this book, Warmth of Other Suns. Warmth of Other Suns. It talks about the Great Migration. I read that book twice. It's almost 1,000 pages. I was so fascinated by what Isabel Wilkinson wrote. She did so much research. I was so fascinated about how Black folks with nothing, with less than nothing, took their 2 little bags with 2 cents, made it to Detroit, made it to South Carolina, not to Detroit, made it to Philadelphia, made it to places like that, and were living in what equated to slums, making pennies on the dollar and saving their monies together. And when they finally moved out of the slums, they moved their whole family into a house. We did it. Yeah. We did it. And somewhere along the line, we began to buy into this quote unquote American dream, right? That wasn't there for us. Cherry said the rules of the games are changed every time disenfranchised groups get their footing. The question is, how do we remove ourselves from the, bam, my girl. The question is, how do we remove ourselves from the game and create our own spaces? Such a good convo. Huh?
We start to morph into being part of that game, and we need to keep.
But why, Sherry? Why did we feel like we belonged into some place where they kept telling us we did not belong there? Why?
Well, it's the same reason why certain animals have a certain color, and then they move into certain areas, and the color changes over time. You morph and you adapt to the environment that you are in, and so, consciously or subconsciously, we've morphed and adapted into that environment because that is what we are consuming. That is why we watch what we listen to. Yeah. And I read this other book about Black millionaires. They're so, when I read those stories about how people went from enslaved to millionaire, you can't tell me anything about what we can do. Like, there's nothing you can tell me about what we can do. When we went from enslaved and couldn't read or write, supposedly,
right,
millionaire, to people listening to conversations because they were a house person. They were listening to conversations about investing.
Yes.
And all this other stuff. Fascinating. A lot of them from Philadelphia. Fascinating. And so if we, and to your point, families, generations, started bus companies moving people from Lansdowne to Philly and just enslaved.
And when we had those hacks out on the street and was making our money, it's now called Uber. Right? They take every creative thing that we have done with the financial means that they had and turned it into something that they considered legal. Our brothers were locked up for 2 ounces of marijuana. They're now these folks are now owning marijuana companies and making the money legally. We have to sit and think now. It was so funny because my son, when he was living in Texas, says, "Mommy, I'm working with a couple of my friends and we're going to purchase into a marijuana farm." And I looked at him and I smiled and I said, "Go ahead, say more." We began having the conversation, but there are folks who are knocking on doors trying to find the ways to get in to do these kinds of things because, we have to, and they keep telling us, no, you can't get the license to open up the dispensary. No, you can't do this in our communities or anywhere else. And then you see other folks coming in, opening up dispensaries in our communities. And despite our fussing and complaining, like we have to go back into our spaces, find quiet spots. This conversation cannot happen on here. It just cannot. Find our quiet spots with each other and say, this is how we're going to do it. This is what we're going to do. And even if we disagree, sit at the damn table and figure out how to make it work. It just has to be people that are thoughtful in the way they want to get things done. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. If we collectively say, hey, this group of however many who assembled this week, we're going to go to this place to eat breakfast, this place to eat dinner. We're going to buy these things online from this vendor. Like once we really commune, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and really focus our like that could be done in just Philadelphia. So how do and if you extrapolate that out beyond that, then now you're shifting the economics of a lot of our small businesses, which now can employ possibly some of those people who are laid off. Like it starts to become a ripple effect. Of course, social media has in so many ways distracted us.
Child.
We are just on it constantly and it has distracted us. Some days I am like, put the phone down, the phone down. Like it just, there's no long-term value in constant commenting. And I get involved I'm telling myself, put the phone,
Yes.
So
yes.
We have just gotten too consumed with things that don't matter. And we have to figure out how to get back to the things that matter and having those meetings and those conversations to say, okay, these are the things we're going to buy this week. Is it true detergent? Is it
Child?
I just bought my ironing board cover. I was like, I am Googling black, I don't, anytime it's not, if I don't need it super quick, I am figuring out how to put money into the pockets of, because if I put more money into those pockets, now they need a marketing strategist. So when that person that got laid off because of DEI initiatives, that sister that got laid off may be able to get a job now with this company because now they need a marketing strategist or they need a supply chain manager because now they need to figure out their supply chain. So that is how we have to be thinking bigger and more globally. And at every level, we can be impactful.
And we are. I believe this is going to force us. They're about to see something because they're thinking that they're laying off all these people with all these skills. Without us, I don't know how they would have managed anyway, right? Because we've been working in these places, not being treated very well and being compensated. We can take that collective knowledge that we have and turn it into something incredibly powerful. And I really believe that this is what I believe this is where we're heading if we would just stop and think. Cherry said, once marijuana got legalized, Black and brown people got shut out. They make it so that you need $2 million cash to get a license. They fixed the game.
Oh, yeah.
But see, right, because but I've been talking to Joel Austin. We have a Black investment club group, and we're a part. You're in it now? Yes. And so I've been talking to him for over a year on the air, trying to get people to understand that cooperative economics is where it is. And so we're growing, right? Going into $500,000 with just for Black.
I'm like, why wasn't I in 2019? He's like 9 people. We raised this much money.
Child. Right. And all you've got to do is put in $50 a month or $100 a month or maximum $200 a month. And so I've been in it now for 3-4 years. So that money just sits there and it grows. Right. And then if you want to, let's say, business investment, you want us to invest in your business, you come to the partners, all of us are partners in the group, and you say, I'd like to borrow X amount of dollars to do this. This is how I'll pay you back. We ask you for your financials. We go through the whole 9 yards, and we are our own bank. Boom. We sitting here fussing and complaining about all the things that don't matter when we could collectively take our dollars. If everybody put our $50 in or our $100 in and grow our own space, then we way more powerful versus, just blowing money to blow money. David, Cherry Greg says, love it, Cherie. We must be more intentional about how we spend our dollars. And absolutely, we've been talking about this forever and a day. So,
where I get my toilet tissue, where I get my, anything, like, again, if it is not, like, if I don't need it immediately, I'm trying to figure out what and how, to do it. And with restaurants and all the things, I know sometimes, with Black-owned restaurants, it's a similar, menu, but
right.
to the extent that we can, small, Black, brown, female, those are the things that we need to be thoughtful in how we spend those dollars.
Yes. And to stop so I'm going to say this again. Remember, we do not have the economic power engine that others have. And so when Black businesses make a misstep, one of the things that bothers me the most is how we caterwaul and point fingers. That is not going to help us right now. I don't want to hear about what's going on right now and how this happened. And can we look forward and say, we see the engine, the train on the tracks, we see it coming for us. How do we remove ourselves off of those tracks, jump off the damn train if you need to, and start having conversations about what we need to do, right? Instead of fussing and complaining about our political folks, sit in our corners and say, you have these people in your group, I have these people in your group. How can we spread the messages about who we should or should not vote for without making a big splash about it on social media? We get caught up.
But the very interesting thing, when we go back to talk about those immigrant groups and those minority groups, they're not really represented in political decisions. They just put their heads down and they just work and they navigate and they figure out how to get it done. It's not too many people that are representing, Spanish or people from Venezuela. Like there is not. And we sit up and spend too much time. That's what I keep saying. Like, why are you trusting or needing your political? To me, my political people just need to do no harm. As long as they can keep the system, I'll have to figure out how to navigate it. I cannot be like, well, my politician is not doing. I need to be responsible for my kids.
David, hold on, stop for a second. Politics does not determine wealth. I'm going to stop you right there. We determine our wealth. If we're sitting around waiting for politicians to give us what we need to do, it is absolutely untrue that politics determine our wealth. Absolutely untrue. If that was the case, then many of us who are out here doing what we do wouldn't be able to do what we do. So politics does not determine our wealth. We determine it by buckling down and saying, okay, this is what we have in our communities. What can we do to make sure that we're doing?
If politics determine our wealth, then the person I just said we bought a refrigerator from wouldn't have a store.
Come on. And they're worth millions of dollars, right? Because they put their heads down and do what they're supposed to do.
Probably hasn't voted. Being real. So for me, again, I think I need my political figures to do the least amount of harm.
Right.
As long as they don't do harm, because we got harm right now happening in this administration. Yeah. So that's a very different way in which we're navigating. Up until more recently, no matter to me who was in red or blue, there was a way that we all could kind of navigate. So I just need people to do, to do no harm.
Baby, this conversation here on Lord have mercy. David says politics in Philadelphia do harm by creating laws that cut our wealth. Again, there are ways to work around these foolish people. We don't have to sit around and wait for them because we will see the stuff coming and go, all right, this is getting ready to happen. We need to pivot. We need to pivot and figure out another way. I just need us to get out of the mindset that we have no power.
Yes.
That mindset. Because there's some folks and know who the people are. Because remember, you can pluck some people out of the family gene pool, throw them out the picnic, because there's some people in our communities that look just like us, that are only all about, I'm going to get mine, and I'm this, and my husband is this, and our family has this. And those people, don't argue with them. Never argue with a fool until you look like one yourself. You turn around and you say, okay, thank you for the party, and leave them right where they are, because those same people are going to turn around and say, why didn't anybody, what is happening? Because they saw you as self-serving, so they want nothing to do with you. And by the time you realize it was too late. So I need us to figure out who the people are in our community, because we have the skills, we have the talents, we have it all. We just need to stop waiting on people to tell us what we can and can't do. David says, is this my David? My David. This is my David. David, historically, politics counters the wealth we have made by creating laws to stop us. And we've always. So stop playing chess. So they are playing chess, not checkers. Chooses to play. And I don't know what you're saying, David. I know you're writing. Just look at how the city is creating laws that are affecting small landlords. And I get it, y'all. There's two Davids on here, right? But we've got to figure out, how do we collectively say, I'm getting ready to buy Mr. Levin, who owns so much property in Philadelphia, 3,000 people, he's getting ready to sell that property. How are we able to collectively buy properties and not say, I own this and I own it? Collectively, we own all of this. Collectively, we pull together and say, this is how we're going to do X, Y, and Z. But we're too siloed.
Agreed. I agree with that for sure.
Monica says, we determine our own wealth, and if we can figure out how to do it collectively, child, I'm telling you, I've been talking about this IB big investment for several years, and people go, well, what if I want to pull out? Well, what if if another culture say, come on over here and invest in Louis Vuitton or blah, 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 215 4000146 is the call-in number, 215-4000146. Someone wants to talk. Lord Jesus, it's too much. And then we even right here, we argue, oh, this is what's happening. That no, y'all, we've been resilient. We have shown through generations, from even before slavery, how resilient we are as a people and what we can do, and stop waiting for, as Pastor Wallace say, for them to tell you that their ice, the white ice is colder. Hold on one second. Good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Mova. Welcome to Mornings with Mova. How may I help you?
Good morning. This is Dave Alexander.
Oh, Lord. Good morning, darling.
Good morning, Sherry. I was typing so fast that all the things were getting mumble jumbled. What I wanted to respond to David and say is that, yes, historically, once we as a people have come together and decided to pool our money and become great, the response politically is to stop us. The response is to create Jim Crow laws. The response is to burn down our financial institutions and to shut our churches and to this and the other, because historically, we, unlike the Chinese, unlike the other cultures that come to America, pool their money and become great, we do it so quickly, so well, so exponentially well, that we also shut down the industries that are run by the Caucasian mass now. So is it true that we should stop? No. We should continue to build and become better. Is there truth in the fact that the political arm is waiting for us to do that so they can say, aha, see, there goes that NIGGA again, shut it down? And so I think that there is a memory and a fear within the African-American diaspora about creating Black wealth within Black wealth as a standard of excellence because of that historic truth.
Mm-hmm. Understood. Because I'm thinking about Tulsa, where they came and burned that town down. They rebuilt the town and they burned it down again.
And so they redistricted the town after they rebuilt it, so you couldn't use it. Then they moved Black people out of the area. Then they, the first fancy car was not the Rolls Royce; it was another car that was built by Black people that Rolls Royce took the mechanism from and then rebuilt. They shut down the Black one. They burned the financial institutions. They divided and conquered the people. They refused to give them the land. They shifted them. They redistricted them. They took the books away. So, unlike every other population of people who could possibly become white in America, the Irish people come to mind, the Italian people come to mind, the Chinese people today come to mind. when African Americans pool their wealth into a system that supports itself, the government uncannily takes action against them. The government takes action, not the people. The politicians come to the government and create the laws that say, oh no. And that is because historically, when Black people who were enslaved got the first taste of freedom, they catapulted themselves directly into government.
Yep.
They catapulted themselves into land ownership. They catapulted themselves into farming. They catapulted themselves into industry and into finance, into technical development, into medicine. And what is true is that if Black people do not support the white machine falls, because that is who creates GPS. That is who creates the mechanism by which industry is built. That is who understands how the railroads were built, how the buildings are built, how the societies, like who built America is this group of people. If you remove the chains of slavery, the bonds of slavery that exist today in economics, then the game is over. That is understood politically. I think in that point there is a point where David was saying that, yeah, we can do that, but we've done that before.
And again,
at least 4 times historically in my memory, and each time it is politicians who come to the government and change the law. What do you do about that? Well, we're playing checkers instead of chess. The chess game is to fix the politics so that when the vote comes, it can't be made. That's a harder mountain. That's a bigger hill. That's one that we don't talk about often. It's one that when we get into politics, we forget why we're there and we start playing for the man.
And it's happening as we speak. As we speak. And what we're told is Black people don't donate. So, I'm going to play for the man and do what because the white folks are the ones giving me money. We say that out of our mouths over and over again. So then, okay, I see where you're coming from. Forgive me, because I see the point that you're making, both Davids. I hear you. I see what you're saying now. So then what are the options for us? But, when we go out to change the politicians, they create all kinds of rules, change the games, take you to court. People who have run against tired, old, deadbeat politicians that have been pushed off to the side. How do we figure out how to get them the hell out? Because once you get them in, they have a machine that keeps them in by any means necessary.
We have to be careful about who we allow in the first place. We don't vet our own choices. We use a machine that was built against us often to pick our best poison, right? And by that I mean we don't say to ourselves, what are the needs of the community? Do you know that when desegregation happened within the schools, that it was built as a mechanism to stop the advancement of colored people? Yes. Let me talk about that, right? We didn't integrate schools to help Black people. We integrated schools to stop the advancement of the colored school, which was out educating the white schools. And because this is a system which is built against us, we have come to a country with a DNA that cannot be stopped. And I can't stress how hardly that matters. So what happens in a time like this is that, and we go back to this whole picture of what the nation looks like, right? If the nation is on fire and burning, and finally people who have become white, were made white, are now existing as white, are struggling and don't know how to do anything because their DNA didn't build the system, because they can't copy themselves and recreate their own culture. What then happens is that the people who have always had nothing, who have always struggled, who have always tried to figure out with a half of a hair and a half a teaspoon how to make soup, right, are going to thrive because all that's left is a half a hair and a half a teaspoon. That truth is that instead of trying to fix now the political game that is broken, help it to fall. Let it break. And then be prepared to build it back for yourself. Be prepared to rebuild the railroad. It sounds dystopic, I know. It sounds horrific, but we have to understand the system that we're playing in isn't built for us to win. It's monopoly without being able to pass go.
Yes. And Shakila says, yes.
We also have to remember, because as he's talking about our strength, we talk about our resilience and those things. It should not be lost on us. If you go to the caves, in back in Ghana and in Senegal and Gori and all that, you have to remember they got the brightest, the most physical.
Yes.
There was definitely a pecking order in who was put on those boats, those
Yeah.
ships, and coming over here to survive the Middle Passage and be here and still be able to live and thrive. You must understand the level of that, back to that resiliency, the intellect, all those things. There's so many more stories of the enslaved overtaking and doing that than they ever want us to hear. You know, Nat Turner wasn't the only one that they ever want us to hear, because no one wants to think, they always want us to think that we were some docile people.
Yeah.
No, we were the strongest, the most intelligent. So when we remember that, we will not allow us to get caught up in this system of thinking that we need to assimilate and acquiesce.
I so agree, Sherry. And I want to say also, even science now, I mean, we just got the scientific final check mark on the mother gene, if you will, where the scientific community recognizes that only can you create the world again out of the genotype of a Black woman. Right. So an African woman has the ability to create the next person who could survive Europe, could survive Asia, could survive all of the mutations that we find in a human being, can only be created still in the DNA carried by an African person. So what does that mean for the world to understand? It's Samson, the idea that's happening in Israel, right? If that were actually a thing that were to pop off and the entire world population were to dissolve, the only way you could recreate Europe, Asia, America, the Southerns, all the hemispheres, is to take the DNA of an African woman. You cannot, in reverse, take the DNA of a Caucasian person or an Asian person and recreate the other races. Worse for them, maybe better for us, but truth in science is that you also cannot sustain the DNA of a simple European person forever. It requires intermarriage, it requires reintegration of blood types, it requires more DNA from the continent of Africa eventually for the species to survive.
Yeah.
That scientific truth, paired and coupled with the historic teaching of racism in this country, have created and catapulted an obscene amount of anger, violence, vitriol against the mother gene.
Yes, and this is the latest iteration of it. And so I need us to navigate now. What you said some good stuff here, my brother, and you made me stop and think. Right? Oftentimes when we're talking, we're doing our research and reading, but sometimes we don't even have the historic pieces of it to remind us of why we are here today. So understood, appreciated. I'm so grateful for you. David says,
I'll see you later.
Yeah, I'll see you later. Wait, I'll talk to you later. All right, bye, honey. Okay. Bye-bye. And David is saying Philadelphia Blacks need to take a page out of Atlanta's book of success. Only a matter of time before they come to Atlanta, though. But the politicians are there. You're right. The politicians look like us, et cetera, et cetera. But Atlanta is a city in a state that is deep red, and there's some crazy things going on. So while they may feel protected now, hopefully they'll have the mechanisms in place to stay protected. Shakila says, go ahead, Cherie.
The thing about Atlanta was you had a mayor, Maynard Jackson, who required that folks that look like us participate in the economic business opportunities. And again, say what you want about the DC mayor, Marion Barry, very similar in building up the DC area, requiring that folks like us were part of the process. We have to be almost the way that the current administration is ramming stuff in. When we have the opportunity as mayor or governor or whoever, we need to be ramming opportunities.
Agreed. And Brandon, Mayor Brandon in Baltimore is doing something incredibly similar, right? But he has the backing of Governor Westmore to help him to move. So everybody's looking at Maryland now as the space. Everybody wanted to run there to go live because they are not taking any tea for the fever. And the mayor of Detroit is doing the same thing, which is why they work so hard to keep us out of office and take the Sambos. Did I say that? I'm sorry. No, I'm not. Take the people who are willing to acquiesce to have the little bit of power, pseudo power that they really do not have, because when they're finished using them, they discard them as old rags, right? And they're not getting in and standing up for anything other than elevating themselves. And we have to, so when people come to you and say, I want you to vote for such and such because they're Black. Yeah, no, we're not doing that. What is the record? What is the record that they stand on? So it makes a difference about who we put in. And then how do we hold them accountable? Viola says David needs 2 days a week. He wasn't even on this week because I was not on. Shakira said something. She said, please call a spade a spade. That's part of what I mean when I say we have been chasing the American dream. We fell for the trap thinking that what we had wasn't good enough. Wanted to be a part. We wanted to blend in. We wanted to be a part of this thing, you know. Yes, I own this, and yes, I do that. And they've been watching, and they're so angry again. And have figured out Black women seem to be the ones leading, so let's just get rid of them. Let's get them out of their jobs. But don't they know they were planting seeds? Don't they know they're planting seeds? David Jake Alexander just said they're taking over the politics. There you go. That's how you do it. That's how you play chess. Absolutely. Absolutely. She's talking about the Black politicians that are doing what they're supposed to do on behalf of the collective and making the business owners. One of my friends, Joanna, just got a $1.2 million grant from Governor Westmore for her building of homes in Baltimore. Do you hear what I'm saying? And she went through all kinds of stuff. They tried everything to sink that child and put her in the ground. But if we stay true, and she called on those of us who were around her, said, I need people to donate to help me to build. So we were all donating money to help her get the stuff off the ground, knowing that we could possibly not get our money back. And we did not, right? But we knew it was for a worthy cause. So here she is now. So, and that's what I'm saying. We must be willing to risk something for our folks that are around us that we see are doing things that make the difference.
And I want to make this point too. Being in the middle class, they say, is one of the worst places to be because we don't have enough to be impactful, but we have too much where we're scared to lose it. So when I tell you that we've also gone to get people to invest in things that we've done, obviously buy a business, flip homes, whatever, we have not been able to get investors because we think people are too afraid of, I got my 401k, I got my vacation, I got my house, and I just don't want to risk it. And so we literally have people say, can you guarantee me that you're going to give the money back? I'm like, no, it's an investment. But but if you invest, so we've got to get out of that mindset of the comfort. The comfort is what has also lulled us into not taking risks and being complacent.
Yep. Agreed. Lord have mercy. We got to get off these internets. This was an excellent conversation today. Got a full day. Cherie, always a pleasure. We never discuss what we're going to talk about, and somehow we flow right in. Tell folks where they can find you, please.
You can find us at 5021 Baltimore Avenue at Booker's Restaurant and Bar. We've got some really great things coming up in August, but we have live entertainment on Friday. So if you've been impacted by the economic environment, come to Booker's for happy hour on Friday, 5 to 7. At 6 o'clock, we have a musician. So stay with us, 5 to 7. 5 o'clock you eat, 6 o'clock you drink a little bit and listen to some music for free. We are giving you a date night at an economic price.
Yes. All right, y'all, going over
supper on Sunday, where we also have a live musician. So we have a prefix menu for $45 and a live musician again there. So we are trying to do our part to make sure that we're making it economically feasible for people to come out to our establishment.
Yeah. All right, y'all. This episode of Mornings with Mother is officially over. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Bye, everybody. Tell that little baby I said hello, Cherie. Cute as a button.
Okay.
Bye, honey. Bye-bye. All right. David says, we've taught the world how to create, but we have come to believe it is we who need the help. I know, David. All this creative activity that we have, and they take it. Thank you, Donette. Donette says, once again, a great topic. We're slowly building here. We're not trying to get a million followers. We really want people to just spend time thinking, listening, and organically build what we have that we know is really, really good. I promise you, okay? All right, y'all. Bye, darlings. I love you, Cherie. Laura says she's coming. Oh, Monica says yes. This show was so we cute. Listen, we keep it on target and on time for all of you. We're not talking about the rubbish. We're not covering stupidity in my mind. Like, you can go online and go talk about PDD. We're not doing it here. We're just not. We have other things to discuss about the viability of our lives, how we survive and thrive, how we unlearn the bullshit that has been put in our head. right? And to relearn and to find places to love each other despite what it looks like and what it feels like. Because the only people we're stopping are ourselves, and that's done purposefully to make us question who we are, what we are, and how accomplished and brilliant we are. Stop it, y'all. It's all here. I'll see y'all later. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.